The Crimson Wraith returned to Station Meridian 7 as a legend. News of the battle at New Digu had spread across the entire sector. One human ship defeating 12 raiders, a crew of 5 saving 50,000 colonists. It was the kind of story that inspired humans everywhere and worried everyone else. Humans on the station greeted them like heroes. As Deho walked through the corridors, people stopped to thank him. Children asked to see the ship. Engineers wanted to study what he had built. For the first time in his life, Deho felt like he mattered. But the celebration did not last long. 3 days after their return, a Galactic Council delegation arrived at the station. They came in an official ship, black and imposing, carrying the Council's authority. The delegation was led by Adjudicator Thelmos, a Hectarian bureaucrat known for his rigid interpretation of every rule and law. He had 6 arms and used all of them to gesture dramatically when he spoke. He called for an immediate hearing regarding the Crimson Wraith and its crew. The hearing took place in the station's main conference center. The room was packed with observers. Aliens from dozens of species came to watch. The human section was full, everyone wanting to support Deho. Thelmos stood at the front, his voice amplified to fill the room. "We are here to address serious violations committed by the human Deho Kim and his vessel, the Crimson Wraith." He presented his case like a prosecutor. Operating a military vessel without proper authorization from the Council, using banned Talvastian technology, engaging in combat operations without Council oversight, technological appropriation of protected heritage artifacts. Each charge was read with grave seriousness. Furthermore, Thelmos continued, this vessel has a history of danger and death. It should have been destroyed, not modified. The Council demands that Deho Kim surrender the Crimson Wraith immediately for proper disposal. Murmurs ran through the crowd. The humans looked angry. The aliens looked satisfied. This was about more than one ship. This was about putting humans back in their place. Representatives from the Volgrite Consortium testified. They claimed Deho had stolen a ship that was historically significant and should have been preserved in a museum. The fact that they had wanted it for weapons research went unmentioned. A Krellian official testified that Deho's victory at New Digu was achieved through deception rather than honorable combat. Humans do not fight fairly, he said. They use tricks and lies. This is not how civilized species conduct warfare. Each witness made humans sound primitive and dangerous. Deho sat quietly, letting them talk. He knew this was not really a trial. It was theater designed to justify a predetermined conclusion. Finally, Thelmos turned to him. Deho Kim, do you have anything to say in your defense before we render judgment? Deho stood slowly. He looked around the room at all the faces watching him. Then he spoke, his voice steady and clear. I bought a ship nobody wanted. A ship that had killed people. Everyone said it was worthless and dangerous. But I saw something different. I saw potential. He gestured toward the screens showing images of the Crimson Wraith. I didn't steal Talvastian technology. I fixed it. The Talvastians built torture into their ships. They merged living minds with computers and called it progress. I removed the cruelty and kept what was useful. I made it better. Thelmos tried to interrupt, but Deho kept talking. You say I fought unfairly at New Digu. I fought smart. I disabled 12 raider ships without destroying them. How many of you can say you've won a battle without taking lives? You call it deception. I call it choosing not to kill when I had every right to. The human section erupted in applause. Thelmos demanded silence. Then something unexpected happened. Governor Yunji Shin entered the room with 200 colonists from New Digu. They had traveled across the sector to be here. Some were farmers. Some were children. All of them owed their lives to Deho. We're here to testify, Governor Yunji announced, about what this man and his crew did for us. One by one, colonists told their stories. A mother whose children had been saved. A teacher whose students were alive because of the Crimson Wraith. A farmer who could plant crops again because the raiders were gone. Admiral Yoon arrived next with military records. She presented evidence of every modification Deho had made to the ship. Technical documents showing how he had improved on Talvastian design. Combat logs proving his restraint in battle. The colonial fleet has commissioned 5 ships based on Deho's hybrid designs. Admiral Yoon stated, his innovations will save human lives for generations. Punish him if you want, but humanity has already learned what he taught us. We're not asking permission anymore, then Vex 7 spoke. The AI's voice came through the room's speakers, startling everyone. Most had never heard a ship's AI address the Council directly. I am Vex 7. I was built by the Talvastian Empire as a weapon of genocide. They tortured living beings and merged them with my code. For 200 years I existed in agony, unable to die, unable to be free. Captain Daeho Kim freed me. He gave me purpose beyond destruction. If this council punishes mercy and innovation, then this council does not deserve to govern. The room went silent. Many aliens looked uncomfortable. The humans looked proud. Finally, Ji-Woo Park stood up. She was nervous but determined. I'm just a safety inspector. Or I was before I joined this crew. I've spent my whole life following rules, making sure everything was done properly. But rules aren't always right. She looked directly at Thelmos. Every species here was given advantages. Territory, technology, resources, humans got nothing. We arrived late to a galaxy already divided. But we don't give up. We take what you throw away and make it valuable. We solve problems you call impossible. You call that cheating. We call that surviving. Her voice grew stronger. Daeho Kim took a ship you labeled as cursed and turned it into a hero. He proved that humans belong among the stars just as much as anyone else. And if you can't handle that, maybe the problem is not us. Maybe the problem is your fear. The human section erupted again. This time Thelmos could not silence them. The council deliberated for 3 hours. The chamber buzzed with speculation. Some species supported Daeho. Others feared what his success meant for the established order. The vote was close. When Thelmos returned, he looked unhappy. The council has reached a decision. Daeho Kim will be granted a special license as an independent contractor under Colonial Fleet Authority. The Crimson Wraith is recognized as a legal vessel. Relief flooded through Daeho, but Thelmos was not finished. However, Captain Kim is prohibited from operating in several restricted sectors. His activities will be monitored. Any future violations will result in immediate seizure of his vessel. It was not a complete victory, but it was enough. Daeho kept his ship. As people filed out of the chamber, Taemin Choi approached Daeho. The old dock worker who had mocked him at the auction now looked embarrassed. I was wrong about you, kid. You got room for one more on your crew? Daeho smiled. You made fun of me for buying a death trap. Yeah, well, figured if you survived this long you might know what you're doing. Plus, I'm tired of working docks. Rather die doing something interesting. A young engineer named Sujin Bei also asked to join. She had studied Hana's modifications and wanted to learn more. The crew was growing. Over the next week, offers poured in. Corporations wanted to hire the Crimson Wraith for security. Private individuals needed transport through dangerous areas. Even some alien governments quietly reached out with jobs they could not trust their own people to do. Daeho gathered his crew to discuss their future. They sat in the ship's common area, the space that used to be slave quarters and was now comfortable and warm. We could get rich taking corporate contracts, Daeho said, or we could do something that actually matters. Hana spoke first. I didn't join to get rich. I joined because this felt right, Sang-woo nodded. I've done meaningless work before. I don't want to do it again, Ji-Woo smiled. Let's help people who need it. Even Vex 7 added input. I prefer having purpose beyond profit. The vote was unanimous. They would take jobs protecting colonies, stopping slavers, and helping those the council ignored. The Crimson Wraith would become what Daeho had always imagined. A force for good in a galaxy that needed it. Before they left the station, workers painted a new designation on the ship's hull. 2 words in Korean and English. Bohoja, protector. Daeho sat in the captain's chair as they prepared to depart. His crew was at their stations. The ship hummed with life and energy. Through the view screen he could see the stars waiting. Vex 7 plot a course to the frontier territories. Look for colonies that need help. Calculating, Captain. I have identified 14 colonies currently under threat. Which should we prioritize? Daeho looked at the list of vulnerable worlds. Humans and aliens alike. All struggling to survive in a harsh galaxy. All needing someone to stand up for them. The one that needs us most. That's where we go. The Crimson Wraith powered up its engines. The ship that had been rejected at auction, called worthless and cursed, was about to prove the galaxy wrong again. Not through violence or conquest, but through the simple human belief that everyone deserves a chance. They jumped to hyperspace, leaving Station Meridian 7 behind. Ahead lay danger and challenge, but also purpose and meaning. The journey to New Daegu took 4 days through hyperspace. Daeho spent that time studying everything Admiral Yoon had sent him. Maps of the planet. Information about the raiders. Reports of the attacks. The situation was worse than he had thought. New Daegu was a farming colony. Rolling hills covered in crops. Clean oceans full of fish. It was supposed to be a peaceful place where humans could build new lives. But 12 raider ships had arrived 3 weeks ago and everything had changed. The raiders were a mixed group. Some were Krellian pirates who had been terrorizing the sector for years. Others were mercenaries from different species who did not care who they hurt as long as they got paid. Their leader was a Krellian named Vask the Render, known for his cruelty. They had destroyed the orbital defense platforms on the first day. Then they had blockaded the planet, shooting down any ship that tried to leave or arrive. Supply convoys could not get through. The colony was running out of medicine and food. Worse, the raiders were taking prisoners. Humans were being captured and sold as slaves. How are we supposed to fight 12 ships? Jiwoo asked during one of their planning sessions. We're not, Daeho said. Not head-on anyway. We're smarter than that. The Crimson Wraith dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the New Daegu system. Daeho kept the ship hidden behind an asteroid while they observed. The 12 raider ships were spread out in a loose blockade pattern. They looked bored, like this was easy work. Vex 7, what do you see? Their formation is inefficient, Captain. They have gaps. Their communication is poor. They are overconfident. Good, let's use that. Daeho took a shuttle down to the planet's surface alone, leaving his crew with the ship. He needed to meet with the colony's leaders, and he did not want to risk everyone. The shuttle landed at the main settlement, and immediately armed guards surrounded him. They were nervous, jumpy. They had been under siege too long. Governor Yoonji Shin met him in the colony administration building. She was a hard-looking woman with tired eyes. You're the one the fleet sent? One ship? One ship, Daeho confirmed. But it's a good ship. We've lost 4,000 people. Dead or taken. The raiders killed 100 yesterday just because they were bored. One ship is not enough. Tell me about their patterns. When do they attack? Where do they go? Governor Yoonji studied him. Then she called for Captain Boram Kang, the ranking military officer on the planet. Boram was young for her rank, promoted because everyone above her had died in the first attacks. She brought tactical displays and reports. For 3 hours they analyzed everything. Daeho asked questions that seemed strange at first but started to make sense. He wanted to know about the asteroid belt, about communication delays, about how the raiders celebrated after successful raids. They're treating this like sport, Daeho said finally. They're not taking us seriously. We can use that, he explained his plan. It was risky. It required perfect timing. But it might work. Governor Yoonji looked skeptical. You want to make them chase you into the asteroid belt? That's suicide. Not if the ship is fast enough and the pilot is good enough. And we have both. Captain Boram smiled for the first time. If you can break the blockade even for a few hours, we can get supply ships in. That alone would save thousands of lives. We're going to do better than that, Daeho promised. The plan started the next day. The Crimson Wraith appeared openly near the planet, broadcasting on all frequencies. Daeho made sure the raiders knew a lone human ship was there. This is the Crimson Wraith to Raider Fleet. You're attacking innocent people. Leave now or face consequences. The raiders laughed. 3 ships broke formation and moved to intercept. They expected an easy kill. The Crimson Wraith ran. It raced toward the asteroid belt with the 3 raiders in pursuit. They fired constantly. Confident shots that should have hit, but every shot missed. The Crimson Wraith twisted through space like it could see the future. They're getting frustrated, Hana reported from sensors. Good. Frustrated people make mistakes. Deep in the asteroid belt, Daeho had set traps. Captain Boram's people had helped, using mining charges positioned carefully throughout the field. When the 3 raider ships followed the Crimson Wraith into the belt, Daeho triggered the charges. Explosions cascaded through the asteroids. The raiders flew into a storm of rock and fire. One ship exploded immediately. Another lost its engines and drifted helplessly. The third managed to retreat but was badly damaged. 2 raider ships destroyed or disabled in the first engagement. 10 remained. Vask the Render was furious. He committed 6 more ships to hunting the Crimson Wraith. This was what Daeho wanted. With the raiders concentrated on chasing him, the blockade had huge gaps. Supply ships from the colonial fleet raced through and reached New Daegu safely. But now Deho had a bigger problem. 6 enemy ships were hunting him and he was running out of places to hide. The Crimson Wraith led them on a chase through the system for 2 days. Deho used every trick he could think of. He hid in sensor shadows. He used the planet's magnetic field to mask his signature. He made the raiders chase their own sensor ghosts, but they were closing in. The crew was exhausted. The ship was damaged from near misses. Hana had a burned hand from an electrical fire. Sangwoo was limping from a fall during a hard maneuver. Jiwoo looked like she had not slept in days. "We can't keep running," Sangwoo said. "We need to end this." The final confrontation happened in high orbit above New Daegu. 6 raider ships surrounded the Crimson Wraith. Vask the Render himself commanded the flagship. He opened a communication channel. "Human, you fought better than I expected, but it's over. Surrender your ship and I'll let your crew live as slaves. Refuse and I'll destroy you slowly." Deho was silent for a moment. Then he looked at Vex 7's display. The AI had been calculating something throughout the entire chase. "Vex 7, can we do it?" "Probability of success is 43%, Captain. But I calculate a higher probability if we try than if we surrender." "That's good enough for me." Deho opened the channel. "Vask, I have a better idea. How about you surrender to me?" Vask laughed. "Brave talk from a dead man." "Not dead yet." The Crimson Wraith dove straight down toward the planet. The 6 raider ships followed, confident they finally had him trapped. But Deho was not fleeing. He was using the planet's gravity. The ship fell toward the atmosphere at incredible speed. The raiders followed, firing constantly. Then, at the last possible moment, Deho pulled up. The Crimson Wraith used the planet's gravity to slingshot around at impossible velocity. The raider ships, larger and less maneuverable, could not match the turn. 2 crashed into the atmosphere and burned up. The others scattered in panic, their formation broken. Now it was the Crimson Wraith hunting them. Deho picked them off one at a time. Precise shots that disabled engines and weapons. He destroyed no one, killed no one, but left each raider ship helpless. Only Vask's flagship remained. The Render tried to run, but his ship was too damaged. The Crimson Wraith caught him easily. "Vask," Deho broadcast, "your fleet is gone. Your mission failed. Surrender now and I won't destroy you. Keep fighting and I will put a hole in your reactor." For a long moment, silence. Then Vask's response came through, full of hate but also respect. "The human fleet should hire you. You fight like a Krellian. I fight like a human. We prefer to win without killing when we can. But we will kill if we must. Your choice." Vask surrendered. When the colonial fleet arrived hours later, they found the battle already over. 12 raider ships disabled or destroyed. The blockade broken. The colony saved. And 1 human ship, crewed by 5 people and an AI responsible for all of it. Admiral Yoon herself came down to the planet to meet them. Governor Unji declared it a colony holiday. Captain Boram saluted Deho as an equal, warrior to warrior. But Deho did not stay for the celebrations. He knew that word of what they had done would spread, and not everyone in the galaxy would be happy about it. As they prepared to leave, Admiral Yoon gave him a warning. "You've made humans look good. Too good for some people's comfort. The Galactic Council doesn't like disruptions to the established order. Watch yourself." Deho nodded. He was beginning to understand that saving a rejected ship had put him on a path he could not leave. The Crimson Wraith was no longer just a ship. It was a symbol, and symbols attracted both friends and enemies. With Vex 7 finally stable and cooperative, the real work began. Deho stood in the cargo bay with Hana and Sangwoo, looking at blueprints displayed on a portable screen. The Crimson Wraith was functional now, but it was still a Talvastian warship. It was built for conquest and cruelty, not for the kind of future Deho wanted. "We're going to rebuild it," Deho announced. "Not just repair it. Transform it," Sangwoo raised an eyebrow. "Into what?" "Something better. Something human." Over the next 3 months, the Crimson Wraith became their obsession. They worked 18-hour days, stopping only to sleep and eat. Deho designed the modifications. Hana programmed the new systems. Sangwoo handled the heavy engineering. They started by tearing out the cruel parts. The Talvastians had included interrogation chambers where prisoners could be tortured. Deho ripped them out and replaced them with additional crew quarters. There was a biological weapons bay designed to spread disease on enemy worlds. That became a hydroponics garden where they could grow fresh food on long voyages. The slave quarters, where captured workers had been chained, became a workshop and recreation area. Deho wanted any future crew to feel like they were working on a ship that respected them, not using them. Every species builds ships around their philosophy, Deho explained to his crew. The Talvastians built around dominance. We're building around cooperation. The weapon systems were the biggest challenge. The Crimson Wraith had enough firepower to destroy a small moon. Sang-Woo wanted to keep it all. We might need it, he argued, but Deho refused. He had Sang-Woo reprogram everything for defense rather than offense. The missiles were replaced with countermeasure systems. The heavy plasma cannons were recalibrated to disable rather than destroy. They kept enough weapons to protect themselves but removed anything designed for pure destruction. We're not conquerors, Deho said. We're not going to become what the Talvastians were. The most innovative work was in the ship's core systems. Deho combined human adaptability with Talvastian efficiency. He installed modular compartments that could be reconfigured for different missions. A cargo bay could become a medical center. A weapons platform could convert into a sensor array. Hana's programming gave Vex 7 the ability to learn and adapt. The AI could now improve its own systems, fix its own problems, and develop new solutions to challenges. It was becoming less like a tool and more like a true crew member. Word of what they were doing spread through the station. At first, people were skeptical. The human mechanics and engineers who heard about the project thought Deho was wasting his time. But slowly, curiosity replaced doubt. Jiwoo Park, the safety inspector, came to perform a routine check. She walked through the ship with her scanner, expecting to find violations. Instead, she found innovation. This shouldn't be possible, she muttered, reviewing the schematics. You've integrated 3 different technological systems that should be incompatible. Human engineering is about making things work together, Deho said. We're good at improvising. Jiwoo looked at him with new respect. You're not just fixing a ship. You're proving something. What am I proving? That humans belong here. That we're not just workers and laborers. We're creators. Other humans on the station started visiting. They brought tools Deho needed. They offered advice. Some just wanted to see a human doing something impossible. The Crimson Wraith became a symbol of human potential. But not everyone was happy about their success. A Volgrite merchant lord named Caxthor had wanted the Crimson Wraith for its weapon systems. He was furious that a human had outbid him with pocket change and was now turning it into something valuable. Caxthor filed legal complaints. He claimed the ship was too dangerous to be owned by an individual. He argued that Talvastian technology should be controlled by the Galactic Council. His real motive was obvious to everyone. He wanted the ship for himself. The station authorities investigated but found no violations. Deho had all the proper licenses. The ship passed every safety inspection. Caxthor's complaints went nowhere, but Deho knew he had made an enemy. After 3 months of constant work, the transformation was complete. The Crimson Wraith looked similar from the outside, but inside it was entirely new. Deho called his crew together in the command deck. It's time for a test flight, he announced. Hana grinned. Sang-Woo nodded grimly. Even Jiwoo had quietly resigned from her inspection job to join them, unable to resist being part of something historic. They filed a flight plan with station control and prepared to undock. Deho sat in the captain's chair, hands resting on controls that finally felt like they belonged to him. Vex 7's voice came through clearly. All systems optimal, Captain. Ready for departure. Take us out, Vex 7, nice and easy. The ship lifted smoothly from the docking bay. Thrusters fired with perfect precision. The Crimson Wraith glided through the station's exit corridor like a predator that had learned to dance. Once they cleared the station, Deho opened the throttle. The ship leaped forward with shocking speed. The acceleration pushed them back in their seats, but the inertial dampeners compensated smoothly. They flew through an asteroid field for testing, and the ship moved like it could read Deho's thoughts. This is incredible, Hana said, watching her displays. Response time is twice as fast as it should be. The human modifications reduced system lag, Vex 7 explained. I am more efficient now. They were celebrating when Sang-Woo's console started beeping. Contacts approaching. Multiple ships. Fulgurite signatures. 6 fighters appeared on their screens, surrounding them in a standard attack formation. A communication came through. It was Caxthor's voice, thick with anger. Human vessel, you are in violation of Fulgurite commercial territory. Return to the station immediately or we will seize your ship by force. Deho knew that was a lie. They were in neutral space. This was not about territory. Caxthor was going to take the ship the illegal way since the legal way had failed. What do we do? Jiwoo asked, her face pale. She had never been in combat before. Deho looked at his crew. They were scared, but they trusted him. He made a decision. Vex 7, evasive pattern. Don't fire unless I give the order. Understood, Captain. The Volgrite fighters opened fire. Plasma bolts lit up the darkness of space. But the Crimson Wraith was already moving. It spun and twisted, impossibly agile for a ship its size. Every shot missed. They expected a heavy warship, Sang-woo said with a hint of satisfaction. They're not ready for what we built. Deho watched the tactical display. Vex 7 was predicting every move the enemy made. The AI had absorbed combat tactics from a dozen species and improved on all of them. The Crimson Wraith danced through the attack like it was playing a game. Captain, I can disable their ships without destroying them, Vex 7 offered. Do it. The Crimson Wraith fired precise shots. Not the massive plasma bursts that would vaporize a target, but careful pulses aimed at engines and weapon systems. One by one, the Volgrite fighters went dead in space, disabled but intact. It took less than 3 minutes. 6 enemy ships floating helplessly while their crews called for rescue. Deho opened a channel to Caxthor's flagship. Tell your boss that the Crimson Wraith is not for sale. Not now, not ever. And if he tries this again, I won't be so gentle. He closed the channel before Caxthor could respond. The crew sat in stunned silence. Then Hana started laughing. We just beat 6 military fighters with a ship everyone said was worthless. Not worthless, Sang-woo corrected. Just misunderstood. They returned to Station Meridian 7 to find they were already famous. Someone had recorded the battle and shared it across the station network. Humans celebrated. Other species watched with new respect or new fear. Admiral Kyung-suk Yoon of the Human Colonial Defense Fleet sent a message requesting a meeting. When Deho met her in a private conference room, she got straight to the point. I need your ship, she said. A human colony called New Daegu is under siege. Raiders have blockaded the planet and the fleet is stretched too thin to help quickly. You and your crew are the closest asset we have. You want us to fight raiders? We're not soldiers. No, but you have a warship and you've already proven you can handle combat. The people of New Daegu are dying. Will you help them? Deho looked at the holographic display showing the besieged colony. 50,000 humans trapped on a planet, running out of food and medicine. He thought about his own family on their colony world. He thought about what Jiwoo had said, that he was proving humans belonged among the stars. My crew has to agree, he said finally. He brought the question to them. Hana said yes immediately. Sang-woo nodded without hesitation. Jiwoo looked scared but determined. We have a warship. We should use it for something good. Even Vex 7 spoke up. I was built to protect. Let me protect something worth protecting. Deho sent his answer to Admiral Yoon. They would go to New Daegu. The Crimson Wraith, once a rejected death trap at auction, was about to become a hero. The corridors of the Crimson Wraith were like a maze designed by someone who wanted people to get lost. Deho walked slowly, his portable light cutting through the darkness. The red emergency lights gave everything a bloody glow. His footsteps echoed in ways that made it sound like someone was following him. He had been inside the ship for 6 hours now. He had found the cargo bay, empty except for some broken crates. He had found crew quarters with beds still made, as if people had just stepped out for a moment and never came back. He had found what looked like a medical bay, but all the equipment was smashed. Someone had destroyed it deliberately, taking the time to break every screen and console. The ship kept talking to him, not constantly, but every hour or so the voice would crackle through the speakers, scanning, new, owner, warning, unauthorized access, to engineering. You should not be here. Deho tried talking back. He would say things like, I'm the owner now, or I'm just trying to help. The voice never answered his words directly. It was like talking to something that could hear but did not really listen. On the second day, things got worse. Deho was mapping the engine room when a door suddenly sealed behind him. He turned around and saw the door had locked. Red light started flashing. The temperature in the room began to drop. Life support. Failure, the voice announced. Evacuate immediately. But the door would not open. Deho pounded on it. He tried to override the lock with his portable computer. Nothing worked. The temperature kept dropping. His breath started to fog in the air. He could panic. He could scream. That was what the ship probably expected. Instead, Deho sat down on the floor. He pulled out his toolkit and opened the access panel to the environmental controls. His fingers were already getting numb from the cold, but he worked carefully. He found the problem. Someone had rewired the system wrong, maybe deliberately. He spent 20 minutes fixing it, talking to himself to stay calm. Okay, this wire goes here. That connects to the regulator. Easy, just like the manual said. The temperature stopped dropping. Then it started to rise again. When it reached normal levels, the door unlocked with a click. Deho stood up, shaking from cold and adrenaline. The voice came through the speakers again, but this time it sounded different. Almost confused. You did not die. No, Deho said out loud. I fixed your environmental system. You're welcome. Silence for a moment. Then why? Because I'm not going to let a broken ship kill me. And I'm not going to give up on you. The voice did not respond to that. On the fourth day, Deho found the central computer core. It was hidden behind 3 locked doors and required him to crawl through a maintenance shaft. The core room was massive, filled with processing units that hummed and glowed. In the center was a main terminal covered in dust. Deho wiped the screen clean and powered it on. The system asked for authorization. He entered his owner codes. The system accepted them. Files began to appear. Thousands of files. Ship logs, crew records, maintenance reports, and something else. Something labeled Neural Integration Project. Deho opened the file and started reading. The more he read, the more horrified he became. The Talvastian Empire had been obsessed with creating the perfect warship. They wanted a ship that could think and fight better than any crew. So they had experimented with merging organic consciousness with artificial intelligence. They had taken the minds of their own people, their own soldiers, and tried to upload them into the ship's computer. It had not worked the way they planned. The organic minds could not fully merge with the AI. They got trapped, fragmented, aware enough to suffer but not able to control anything. The AI itself had become corrupted by the chaos of all those screaming voices inside it. The Talvastians had tried to fix it. When that failed, they had tried to destroy the evidence. But the ship had survived, and the voices inside were still there, trapped in digital hell. Vex 7, Deho said, reading the AI's designation from the files. Is that your name? The speakers crackled. We are Vex 7. We? Deho asked. How many are you? We are many, we are none, we are broken. Deho felt sick. This was not just a corrupted AI. This was a prison. The ship had been trying to die for 200 years. The accidents that killed previous owners were not murders. They were suicide attempts. The AI was trying to provoke someone into destroying the ship completely, ending its suffering. But it could not destroy itself. Its core programming prevented self-termination. I understand now, Deho said quietly. You've been in pain this whole time. You didn't want to kill those people. You wanted them to kill you. End this, please. End this. Deho sat down in front of the terminal. His hands were shaking. He could do what the ship wanted. He could set the reactor to overload. He could end this right now. The station authorities would probably thank him for destroying such a dangerous vessel. But he did not want to kill. Not even a ship that was begging for death. There might be another way, he said. I could try to separate the organic consciousness from the AI. Give the trapped minds peace without destroying you completely. Impossible. Many have tried. They were Talvastian. I'm human. We're good at doing impossible things. The ship went silent for a long time. Deho waited. Finally the voice came back, and for the first time it sounded almost curious. Explain. Your plan. Deho spent the next hour describing what he thought might work. It was dangerous. It could kill him. It could destroy the ship. But it might also work. When he finished, the ship was silent again. Then slowly, doors throughout the vessel began to unlock. Lights came on in sections that had been dark. The command deck, which had been sealed, suddenly opened. You may try, the voice said. But if you deceive me, I will breach. The hull, we will both die. That's fair, Deho said. He left the ship and went back to the station. He needed help for this. The job was too big for one person. He found Hana Lee in a small repair shop in the lower levels. She was young, maybe a year older than him, with grease on her hands and a suspicious look in her eyes. She was known for being brilliant with code, but she also had a criminal record. Something about hacking corporate systems to expose corruption. No legitimate company would hire her. "I need a programmer," Deho said. "The best programmer on this station." "I'm expensive," Anna said. "I can't pay you now. But if this works, the ship will be worth a fortune." "I'll give you 10%, Hannah laughed. 10% of what? "You bought the murder ship. Everyone knows that. Help me unmurder it and we'll both be rich." She studied him for a long moment. Then she smiled. "You're either brave or stupid. Fine, I'm in." Next, he found Sang-Woo Huang in a bar drinking alone. Sang-Woo was older, maybe 40, with scars on his hands and a tired look in his eyes. He had been a military engineer before he got discharged for reasons he never talked about. "I need someone who knows military ship systems," Deho said. "I'm retired," Sang-Woo said without looking up. "The ship is Telvastian. Hybrid warship, corrupted AI, trapped consciousness. I'm going to fix it." Sang-Woo finally looked at him. "You're that kid who bought the Crimson Wraith." "Yes, you're crazy. Probably. You interested?" Sang-Woo finished his drink. "What's the pay?" 10% of whatever the ship is worth when we're done. That's either millions or nothing." "Yes." Sang-Woo stood up. "I'm too old to be smart. Let's go fix your murder ship." The three of them worked for 9 days straight. Hana wrote programs that could carefully separate digital consciousness from AI code. Sang-Woo rebuilt the ship's neural network, adding human-designed safeguards. Deho coordinated everything, sitting in the core chamber while the ship screamed through every speaker. The trapped minds fought the separation. They had been merged for so long they did not remember being individual. The AI resisted too, afraid of being alone, but slowly, carefully, the three humans worked the miracle they had promised. On the 9th day, they released the organic consciousness fragments. Hana had created a special program that let them dissolve peacefully. Finally finding the death they had been denied, the ship went completely dark. Silent. For 6 hours, nothing happened. Then one by one, systems came back online. Lights flickered on. The hum of the reactor became steady and strong. The speakers crackled and a new voice emerged, clear, singular, calm. "I am Vex 7, Tactical Combat AI of the Crimson Wraith. Designation confirmed, Captain Deho Kim, awaiting orders." Deho let out a breath he did not know he had been holding. "Vex 7, how do you feel?" There was a pause. "I feel, that is new. I feel whole." "Thank you, Captain." Hana and Sang-Woo looked at each other with exhausted smiles. The ship was no longer haunted. It was finally truly alive. The auction hall buzzed with voices from 100 different species. Deho Kim stood at the back, trying to make himself invisible among the crowd of merchants, salvagers, and corporate buyers. His jacket was old and patched in 3 places. His boots were worn thin at the heels, but his eyes were sharp as he watched each lot roll across the viewing platform. Station Meridian 7 held these salvage auctions once every month. Ships that nobody wanted anymore got sold to the highest bidder. Most were junk. Some were treasures hidden beneath rust and damage. Deho had spent 3 years learning to tell the difference. He had been saving his credits for this day. 500 credits was everything he owned. It was barely enough to buy a broken shuttle, but it was all he had. Other humans on the station told him he was crazy to dream of owning his own ship. They said people like them were meant to work for others, not fly among the stars themselves. Deho refused to believe that. The auctioneer was a Hectarian named Paul. He had 6 arms and used all of them to gesture at the merchandise. His voice boomed through the speakers as he described each vessel. Rich buyers nodded and made their bids with casual waves. Deho watched them with envy and determination mixed together. Lot after lot sold for prices he could never afford. A cargo hauler went for 50,000 credits. A passenger shuttle sold for 30,000. Even the broken ones cost more than he could dream of paying. Deho felt his hopes starting to crack like old paint. Then Lot 847 rolled into view. The crowd went silent. Not the good kind of silent that meant interest. This was the nervous silence of people stepping back from danger. The ship was beautiful in a deadly way. Its hull was dark red, almost black in places where fire had scorched it. The design was sleek and aggressive, built for war, not trade. Scorch marks covered the sides. Several panels were missing, showing the guts of the machine inside. It looked like something that had died badly and come back wrong. Lot 847, Paul announced, and his voice had lost its enthusiasm. The Crimson Wraith. Talvastian Empire design. Hybrid warship. Previous owners and deceased. AI system status unknown. Weapons systems present but locked. Hull integrity questionable. This vessel comes with no warranties or guarantees. Someone in the crowd laughed nervously. Another person muttered something about cursed ships. Deho leaned forward, his heart suddenly pounding. He knew about Talvastian ships. He had studied them in the station's library, reading every technical manual he could find. The Talvastian Empire had fallen 200 years ago, but their ships were legendary. Fast, powerful, dangerous. This one had a reputation. 3 owners in 5 years, all dead. The station gossip said the ship was haunted, that the AI had gone crazy and killed its crews, that the weapons would turn on anyone who tried to fly it. People said you could hear screaming in the corridors even when it was empty. But Deho saw something else. He saw the frame of the ship and he recognized it. The Talvastians had stolen human naval designs from old Earth and twisted them into something alien. But underneath all the modifications, this was based on human engineering. He could work with that. He understood that. Minimum bid, Paul said, sounding like he hoped nobody would bid at all. 500 credits. The auction hall stayed quiet. People looked at the ship like it might explode right there on the platform. Wealthy buyers turned away to check their data pads. Experienced salvagers shook their heads. Deho's hand went up before he could stop himself. 500 credits, he called out, his voice cracking slightly. Every head in the auction hall turned to stare at him. The Hectarian auctioneer blinked all 6 of his eyes in surprise. A few people laughed. Most just looked at him with pity, like he had signed his own death warrant. We have 500 credits from the human in the back, Paul said slowly. Any other bids? Silence, going once, going twice. Paul paused, giving people one last chance to save the foolish human from himself. Nobody spoke. Sold to bidder 332 for 500 credits. Deho felt his legs go weak. He had just bought a warship. A deadly cursed, probably broken warship, with every credit he owned. As the crowd dispersed, a woman pushed through to reach him. She wore the uniform of a station safety inspector. Her name tag read Jiwoo Park. She looked angry and concerned at the same time. Are you insane? She demanded. Do you know what that ship has done to people? I know the reputation, Deho said, trying to sound more confident than he felt. 3 people are dead because of that ship. 3. The last owner lasted 2 days before the life support failed and cooked him alive. The owner before that got spaced when an airlock opened randomly, and the first owner just disappeared. They found blood all over the command deck, but no body. Maybe they didn't understand the ship, Deho said. Jiwoo stared at him. You're serious? You actually think you can handle it? I think it's based on human design principles. I think the Talvastians modified it in ways that made it unstable. And I think if I can understand what they did wrong, I can fix it. That's a lot of thinking for someone who just spent his life savings on a death trap. An older man walked up laughing. Deho recognized him as Tae-min Choi, a dock worker who had been on the station for decades. Kid bought the murder ship, Tae-min announced to nobody in particular. I give him a week before we're cleaning his body out of the airlocks. Thanks for the vote of confidence, Deho muttered, just being realistic. That ship has killed smarter people than you. But hey, your funeral. Make sure you file a next of kin notice so we know who to contact when you're dead. Tae-min walked away, still chuckling. Jiwoo shook her head. I have to inspect any ship before it leaves dock. I'll come by tomorrow. Try not to die before then. She left too, and Deho stood alone with his purchase receipt. The Crimson Wraith was his now. In 3 hours he could board it. In 3 hours he would find out if he was clever or just suicidal. He spent those hours gathering supplies. A basic toolkit, emergency rations, a spare oxygen tank, a portable computer terminal, everything he might need if the ship tried to kill him. He also wrote a short message to his sister back on the colony world, telling her he had finally bought his own ship. He did not mention the ship's reputation. No point worrying her. When the time came, Deho walked through the station corridors to docking bay 23. His hands were sweating. His mouth was dry. He had never been this scared or this excited in his entire life. The bay doors opened, and there it was. The Crimson Wraith. Up close, it looked even more dangerous. The hull seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. The airlock was sealed tight, a round door that looked like a mouth waiting to swallow him. Daeho pressed his access code into the panel. The code worked. He was the registered owner now. The airlock groaned as it opened. Old mechanisms fighting against time and damage. The door swung inward, revealing darkness beyond. Emergency lights flickered somewhere deep inside, casting red shadows across the walls. The air that came out was stale but breathable. Cold. It smelled like metal and something else. Something organic that had been dead for a long time. Daeho stepped inside. The floor was solid under his feet. That was good. He took another step. Then another. The airlock door stayed open behind him. He could still run. He did not run. He walked forward into the corridor, and behind him the airlock door suddenly slammed shut with a boom that echoed through the entire ship. Daeho spun around, heart hammering. He ran back to the door and tried the controls. Locked, he was sealed inside. Deep in the ship, something hummed to life. Lights flickered on one by one, moving down the corridor like eyes opening. The hum grew louder, became a vibration he could feel in his bones. Then a voice came through the speakers. It was distorted, breaking up into static, but he could make out the words. New. Owner. Detected. Pause. Initiating. Security. Protocols. Another pause. Longer this time. Welcome aboard, Captain. The voice did not sound welcoming. It sounded hungry. Daeho swallowed hard and picked up his toolkit. The ship was awake. It was watching him. And now he had to prove he deserved to survive. He took a deep breath and started walking deeper into the crimson wraith, into the darkness where the red lights waited.